Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first introductory Earth Science lab. Our lab intro presentations will be broken into two main parts. The first is background information, which will provide context for the lab. The second is lab information, which has safety information, supplies needed, and any hints that might be helpful as you work through the lab. To have a safe, productive lab environment, please follow our weekly lab expectations. The first expectation is to sign in for each lab. Checking in with your TA so that way they know you're present is important for safety reasons and to make sure that we can account for any potential grading errors. You'll also want to make sure you arrive on time. Our labs require prep time to get materials ready, and being on time means you won't miss important lab instructions. Similarly, make sure you come to lab prepared. Reading the pre-lab assignment before your lab will ensure that the lab itself goes smoothly. For each lab, you will be expected to collaborate with your table mates, typically a group of 3 to 4 students. You'll share data collection duties and discuss your results as a team. Make sure you understand the procedures before starting, but if you do happen to get stuck, ask your TA for guidance. Important safety rules will be outlined before each lab and will also be included in the instructions page of each module in Carmen. Following these expectations will help you earn the grade that you want and stay safe. Before getting into Earth science specific information, we need to define science in general. Science is the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experimentation. Science is about asking questions and finding answers by testing hypotheses. Science relies on testing ideas with evidence gathered from the natural world. Scientists make observations, form hypotheses, and design experiments to test those hypotheses. The results of these experiments either support or refute the original hypotheses. Over time, theories are developed that explain natural phenomena. Theories must continue to be supported by evidence from many experiments by many scientists. Science gives us systematic and reliable knowledge about the natural world that helps us understand ourselves and our environment. Through science, we can separate fact from fiction and superstition. Understanding science is key for making informed decisions about issues that affect our lives and society. Just in case it's been a while since you've reviewed the scientific method, we'll do a quick refresher. The scientific method is the process scientists use to learn about the natural world. It involves making observations, asking questions, forming hypotheses, designing experiments, collecting data, analyzing results, drawing conclusions, and sharing your findings. The key steps of the scientific method are, first, asking a question and doing background research. You develop a testable question based on your observations, and this helps narrow the focus of an investigation. The second step is to form a hypothesis, where you'll propose a potential explanation or prediction that can be tested. A hypothesis guides the design of an experiment. Third, you'll test your hypothesis with an experiment. Design and run an experiment to test the hypothesis. Control variables, manipulate the independent variable, and measure the dependent variable. The fourth step is to analyze your results. You'll record your data and review your results, interpret your findings, and draw conclusions. Do the results support or refute your hypothesis? The fifth step is to draw conclusions. Decide if the hypothesis is supported or not, and consider modifying it. Publishing your results will allow for peer review. The final step is to repeat. The process of the scientific method is iterative. More observations and experiments build on previous ones. Findings are refined over time. The scientific method is a powerful tool because it emphasizes evidence and testing. This helps to ensure that scientific knowledge is empirical, logical, and is objectively verifiable. A hypothesis is a proposed explanation for something that can be tested. A hypothesis is an educated guess or a prediction about how something works. Scientists form hypotheses based on observations and previous knowledge as a starting point for future research. A theory is a widely accepted explanation that has been scientifically tested and confirmed repeatedly. Theories explain phenomena by unifying many hypotheses that have supporting evidence. Some examples of theories include cell theory, the theory of evolution, and atomic theory. A law describes an observed phenomenon or behavior that is consistently true under certain conditions. Laws describe what will happen without explaining why. Laws summarize patterns in nature, often mathematically. Some examples of laws include Newton's laws of motion and Mendel's laws of inheritance. To summarize, hypotheses propose explanations, theories unify explanations, and laws describe phenomena. All three are important parts of the scientific process. As evidence grows, hypotheses can become theories, and theories can point to new laws. The International System of Units was developed in France in the 1700s. The SI is the modern metric system for measurement and is used universally in science, industry, and trade. It consists of 7 base units: meters for measuring length, kilograms for measuring mass, seconds for measuring time, amperes for measuring electric current, Kelvin for measuring temperature, mole for measuring the amount of substance, and candela for measuring luminous intensity. There are an additional 22 derived units, like newtons for force. This system uses a coherent system of prefixes like milli, centi, and kilo to help you understand the factor involved in each unit. Key features include decimal ratios for easy conversion. For example, 1 centimeter equals 0.01 meters. Standard reference points, including the speed of light and the freezing point of water, reliable and reproducible measurements, and finally, globally understood quantities and units. The SI facilitates transparency in science, technology, industry, and trade. It underpins major achievements like the Industrial Revolution, high-tech manufacturing, and exploration of space. The universal SI units connect the global scientific community. Because we often use different units, it's important to know how to convert one unit to another. Here is a table of common unit conversions that we can use in our calculations. For example, we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. That one doesn't require any major calculations on our part. But if we want to determine how many centimeters are in a mile, that will require some more math. First, you'll see that there are 1.609 kilometers in 1 mile. That allows us to switch from empirical units, which is what we often use here in the US, to SI units. Now, to switch from kilometers to centimeters, there are 100,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer, so we can multiply 100,000 centimeters by 1.609 kilometers to get 160,900 centimeters. If it's helpful, you can also go from kilometers to meters and then from meters to centimeters. Another example, how many pounds are in 5 kilograms? We know that 1 pound is 0.454 kilograms. To determine how many pounds 5 kilograms is, we'll multiply 0.454 kilograms by 5 to get 2.27 pounds. Now that we've defined science, we can define earth science. Earth science is the study of planet Earth. It covers all aspects of the planet from its formation 4.5 billion years ago to present-day processes. Earth science encompasses 4 main branches: astronomy, the study of celestial bodies and phenomena beyond Earth's atmosphere, such as stars, planets, comets, and galaxies; geology, the study of the composition, structure, and processes that shape Earth, such as rocks, minerals, plate tectonics, volcanoes, and earthquakes; meteorology, the study of the atmosphere, weather, climate, including storms, precipitation, and atmospheric chemistry; and finally, oceanography, which is the study of the physical, chemical, and biological aspects of the oceans, including currents, waves, and marine life. Together, these branches examine how the lithosphere, or the crust, the hydrosphere, water, the atmosphere, air, and the biosphere, life, interact as systems that create complex environments on Earth. Earth science helps us understand Earth's past through evidence like fossils and allows modeling of future changes like sea level rise. It provides key information needed to sustainably manage Earth's resources. Studying planet Earth helps reveal how it formed, what affects it now, and how it will change in the future. Earth scientists study processes and interactions within and across our planet's four major spheres: the atmosphere, the biosphere, the hydrosphere, and the geosphere. The atmosphere involves the gaseous envelope surrounding Earth. Earth scientists in this field might study weather patterns, climate, or air quality. The biosphere involves all living things on Earth. Earth scientists in this field might study habitats, biodiversity, or environmental health. The geosphere involves the solid portion of our planet. Earth scientists in this field might study rocks, minerals, landforms, or plate tectonics. And finally, the hydrosphere involves all water on or near Earth's surface. Earth scientists in this field might study oceans, lakes, rivers, or the water cycle in general. Earth scientists that study how these four spheres interact might work on the interactions between water and air, how human activity impacts natural systems, or how organisms have adapted to different climates. One example of combining each of these spheres in Earth science, it comes from Alfred Wegener in 1912. Alfred Wegener was a German scientist who proposed the theory of continental drift in 1912. Wegener noticed that continents like Africa and South America fit together like puzzle pieces and had matching fossil evidence. He hypothesized that all continents were once joined in a supercontinent called Pangaea that broke apart and continents drifted to their current positions. Wegener said that continents plowed through the ocean floor, driven by centrifugal force from the Earth's rotation. His ideas were highly controversial, however, as there was no mechanism known to cause the continents to move. Wegener presented extensive geological and paleontological evidence over his lifetime, but he couldn't convince the scientific community. Wegener died on an expedition studying continental drift in Greenland in 1930. His theory was largely dismissed until the 1950s and 60s, when new evidence of seafloor spreading supported it. Today, he is recognized as the father of the continental drift hypothesis, which was a key step toward the development of plate tectonic theory. In the 1950s, Marie Tharp made pivotal contributions to the theory of plate tectonics through her pioneering maps of the ocean floor. Because women weren't allowed on research vessels at the time, Marie Tharp used echo-sounding data that her male colleagues collected to create the first comprehensive bathymetric maps of the bottom of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. Her maps revealed a massive rift valley running along the center of the mid-Atlantic ridge, providing key evidence for seafloor spreading. Tharp's visualizations allowed scientists to see the interconnected rift system of mid-ocean ridges that encircles the planet. Harry Hess made fundamental contributions to the theory of plate tectonics in the 1960s through his hypotheses about seafloor spreading. As a geologist and oceanographer, Hess analyzed data from the seafloor and recognized that new oceanic crust was forming along mid-ocean ridges. Hess suggested that convection currents in the mantle were the driving force behind the motion of plate tectonics. Hess hypothesized that the seafloor spreads from ridges and then is recycled back into the mantle at deep ocean trenches. His concept of seafloor spreading helped form the foundation of plate tectonic theory by explaining the mechanisms of plate movement. Vine, Matthews, and Morley also made a key contribution to plate tectonic theory in the 1960s with their work on paleomagnetic stripes in the seafloor. Studying the magnetic surveys from the seafloor, they found a symmetrical pattern of parallel magnetic stripes of alternating polarity flanking the mid-ocean ridges. The researchers demonstrated that the stripes were symmetrical on either side of the ridge crests, and they matched the known reversals in Earth's magnetic polarity over time. This provided evidence that new seafloor is continually generated at mid-ocean ridges and then spreads away as part of plate tectonic motion. As molten material emerges and solidifies at the ridges, it records the magnetic polarity at the time, creating alternating zebra stripe patterns on the seafloor. Their findings supported seafloor spreading hypotheses, and the overall theory of plate tectonics by explaining how plates split apart and move. Vine, Matthews, and Morley's work on seafloor magnetic anomalies was a key development in verifying plate tectonic motions. There are three main types of plate boundaries. The first, convergent boundaries, occur where plates collide and move together. Dense oceanic crust is subducted under lighter continental crust. If you have two continental plates moving towards each other, they will both collide and move upwards to form a mountain chain. If you have two oceanic crusts colliding with each other, the older and more dense oceanic crust will subduct beneath the lighter and younger oceanic crust. This creates volcanoes, trenches, earthquakes. An example of this would be all around the Pacific plate, where you have the Pacific Ring of Fire. Divergent boundaries happen where plates move apart. This allows magma to rise to the surface, creating new crust and seafloor. An example of this would be mid-ocean ridges. And finally, transform boundaries occur where plates slide past each other. This neither creates nor destroys crust. Here you have lots of earthquake and fault activity. An example of this would be the San Andreas Fault in California. Plate motions at these three boundary types drive many geologic processes and features on Earth, from earthquakes to mountain building. Understanding plate boundaries helps explain the location of volcanoes, trenches, faults, and more. Next, we'll discuss information that you'll need to complete this lab. Fortunately, there are no safety considerations that are specific to this lab. We will always go over any safety considerations before the beginning of the lab. To complete this lab, you will be provided with colored pencils, a double-sided worksheet, and several maps. And fortunately, this week, you won't need any digital supplies. However, if you choose to, you can download the worksheet and the maps on Carmen.